It's Frank the pilot. I'm a retired airline pilot, author, publisher, and video producer. I'm a Daytona Beach, Embry-Riddle 1985 alumni and 1986 flight instructor employee. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about my books, a little bit about my flight career, and some health tips. I'm going to try to keep the braggadocious to a minimum, but I want to motivate you because I'm assuming there's some college students out there and I want to motivate them. So come fly with Frank the pilot, and we'll start off in England. On April 10th, 1981, I was in the United States Air Force, and a friend of mine in England took me out to the Aero Club, and I took my first flight lesson. And even though I was only a few thousand feet above the ground, I felt like I had the whole world in my hands. The next day, I took another flight lesson, and the next day, I took my third flight lesson. That was April 12th, 1981. Afterwards, I went and watched on TV the very first space shuttle, Columbia, take off. And I knew right then and there, I wanted to be a pilot. I mean, I was hooked on flying. I was like a drug addict, a pilot addict, aviation addiction. So I had to finish out my time in the Air Force. And when I finished out my time, during that time frame, I got my pilot's license and associate's degree. And then in 1984, at age 23, I enrolled at Daytona Beach campus at Embry-Riddle. That year, I took 54 college credit hours and some flight courses. And, Embry-Riddle was much different back then. There were very few people in the aeronautical science program. But we did have spring break, and spring break in Daytona Beach was 2 months long. Anyway, virtually all the courses I took were aviation related. And I'll have to say one thing. It's one thing to learn how to fly, and it's another thing to get an education. But when you go to Riddle, you're getting the best of the best. You're getting the best flight instruction, and you're getting the best aeronautical education. Back then, we considered Riddle as the Harvard of aviation. So let's see here. I graduated in 1985, and after graduation, I went into Paul McDuffie's office. I don't think he's still there. He was the chief pilot of the flight department. I requested a flight interview, a pilot interview. And so he interviewed me, and he offered me a job as a flight instructor on a Cessna 172. This was my first pilot job, my first big break. So thank you very much, Embry-Riddle, for my first big break. I was now a professor at Embry-Riddle teaching college students how to fly planes. In the next 9 months, I soloed 54 people. That means I taught 54 students how to fly planes. I mean, I was virtually flight instructing 8 hours in the air, ground instructing 4 hours on the ground, 6 days a week. But I didn't care. I loved my job. I mean, I just loved doing that. Finally getting to do what I wanted to do. So I did a little side work. I used to tow banners along Daytona Beach strip there. In fact, I had my first emergency while towing banners. I also had an emergency in the Cessna 402 that almost ended my flight career. And these stories are in my book, and there's also a video on it. So after several other jobs, at age 26 on July 6, 1987, I started flight school as a second officer on the Boeing Jumbo Jet 747 for Flying Tigers. Tom, you probably know a lot about Flying Tigers. Those guys that were fighting over in Africa, some of those guys started Flying Tigers. So let me tell you about my first flight. My first flight in the 747. We left JFK Airport, and we took off, and we flew from JFK to Brussels. We had some time off. After that, we flew to Dubai, had some time off, and then we flew to Hong Kong, had a few days off in Hong Kong. Then we flew to Japan, and then we flew to Anchorage, and then Chicago, and then New York. We flew right around the world in 10 days. Life is great. Only in America can you leave home at 18 with a driver's license and high school diploma and come back at 26 with a pilot's license and college degree. So in 1989, FedEx and Flying Tigers merged. At 29, I went to the right seat of the 727. 36, I was captain. 48, became captain of the Airbus wide-body 300 jet airplane. And then at age 57, I retired from FedEx. At this point in my life, I've accomplished everything I wanted to flight-wise, and I wanted more time to give back, to help people. So my first book, School in School, I actually wrote while I was still flying. It took me 2 years to write this book. And people always ask, how long did it take you to write the book? How do you write a book? Now, here's my best suggestion. It'd be nice if you have an outline, but if you don't, just go buy yourself a notebook and write. And then when you think the notebook is done and you have a masterpiece, go to an editor and spend 2 years in telling you what you should have wrote. Or how to correct your English from I to U to comma to colon. You really realize that I should have paid more attention in English in college. The highlight of this book was I was doing book signings at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. on Father's Day. I'd done about 30 or 40 other book signings at airports across the country in my pilot's uniform. And doing book signings it's a great experience with connecting with the readers. You never know who you're going to meet at the airport, and then don't prejudge because you never know who's going to buy your book. Some of the highlights of this book is, well, I wrote the book first as a legacy for my sons, but I also wrote it because I wanted to motivate college kids, motivate them to get their career job. So some of the highlights, why would I say you to read this book? Well, number one, it tells you how I did it from my first job, flying at for my first flight, flying at age 20 to get my dream job age 26. But there's two good stories in here. That's that flight around the world in 10 days. And we'll also talk about the Hong Kong checkerboard approach, famous checkerboard approach in Hong Kong. That's in there. And then there's Flight 1340, the flight from JFK Airport to Memphis Airport. The perfect flight, maybe. There's 10 almost died stories in here. And there's some self-help chapters in the back, some bonus self-help chapters in the back. 10 healthy tips. That's like my guidelines that helped me throughout my airline career. These healthy tips helped me get through my medicals. Pilots have to take a medical twice a year. And if you don't pass your medical, you can't fly. If you can't fly, you don't get paid. If you don't get paid, you can't put food on the table. That's a very bad thing. When you're young, you can eat a whole pizza and drink a bottle of wine and pass a medical. It's not a problem. But when you get older, you got to take care of yourself or you're not going to pass that medical. Also, these health tips help me perform at my best at aviating jets around the world. Pilots make their money above planet Earth, and it's serious business, So these health tips is kind of like my way of giving back. It's what I've used in my career, and these health tips can help you. And my goal here is if just one health tip can help just one person in one way, then I feel happy I've given back. You might have noticed I've got a little star here. On September 29th on Amazon, I made bestseller in 4 different categories. So let me just sum up that book real quick here. This is like my little reading part here. In a nutshell, don't put any foreign substances in your body that can kill you. Drink water, eat fruits and vegetables, eat foods from the good list, avoid foods from the bad list. Drink water, eat fruits and, I already said that. Avoid sugar and caffeine. Sleep, fast, meditate, and exercise, and don't drink too much alcohol. And remember, good health is for everybody. This book right here, From Hate to Love, A Spiritual Journey to Heal. It's kind of perfect timing with hate going on in this country right now. We need to do a lot of healing. This book's being formatted right now, so it'll be available next month. And it's another way of my giving back, but it was unavoidable. Some of my personal flight stories seeped into this writing as well. It's kind of hard for me to write anything without a flight story getting in there. So, I used to say to everybody, take action now, buy a book, Why don't you buy a book on 10 healthy tips and give it to somebody you care about, Maybe, they can get a health tip that can help them out. I have 2 websites. It's frankjdonohue.com and notwhy.com. So my first year when I retired, to kind of make a transition, I produced about 50 videos, pilot videos. Some people don't like to read, and I didn't want them missing out. So, like the Embry-Riddle first pilot job, there's a video in there. You can go there and look it up. Embry-Riddle first job pilot video. Where can you buy my book? You can buy it on my website. You can buy it on Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, or you can Google Frank J. Donohue or Google the book titles. You want to reach me? Other than going down to the post office, look at the help wanted ads and unwanted dead or alive. You can reach me at Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. And I like to just wrap it up here. Like I said, this is my way of giving back. If just one tip from my books helps or motivates just one person, then I'm happily rewarded, and my lifelong dream of helping mankind has been fulfilled. I felt I've been so blessed, and I'm happy to give back. So this is thank you. Enjoy the day, if not the night. If I need to eat up a little more time, I have a pilot's poem here I can read to you. Do we have time for that, Bill?
It's only going to take you a minute or so, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is in the book, and it starts off, pilot beware. One of the health tips is sleep. It's one of the most important health tips. So a pilot would kind of understand a lot of these words. And the title of this poem is called Half Awake and Half Asleep, okay? Are you awake? No, I'm half asleep. I love it when I'm half awake. I can kick the autopilot off for flight's sake. I can smoothly pitch and bank. I can aviate like the #1 rake. All radio transmissions and receptions I can make. Executing motor and decision skills without one mistake. Watch me, I bet you a stake. I'm the best pilot and a smooth landing I can make. I wish I could always fly and live half awake. Flying in the daytime when you're half awake is a piece of cake. I can be dangerous when I'm half asleep. My performance is not the best when I cannot leap. I may be off by 10 degrees, 10 knots, or 100 feet, deviating from standards without the enthusiasm to meet. I might just turn the autopilot on at 500 feet and off when the airplane and runway meet. Candy, soda, coffee, whatever it takes to not count sheep. I must successfully fly the plane, and my job I must keep. I don't enjoy flying above the ground much when I'm half asleep, but half asleep is better than being underground 6 feet deep.
Very good.
Very good.